Whether you are a Java developer who is just getting started with your career or a veteran who has several years of experience working with microservice applications, this course is for you all. Look at any Java developer job posting out there. They will require knowledge of at least one cloud like AWS and work experience with Devops tools like Docker, Kubernetes, Jenkins, and more. This is Bharat Reddy. I am a software architect and best-selling instructor. From this all-in-one course, I will help you master the AWS services that are required to work on your microservice applications, starting from EC2 all the way to CloudWatch, and DevOps tools starting from Git all the way to Kubernetes. So by the end of it, you will have all the knowledge that is required to make your microservice applications cloud ready and continuous deployment enabled. You will start this course by learning what microservices are, why they are so popular, and then you will learn the concepts of cloud, continuous delivery, and DevOps in the context of microservice development and how they all fit together. You will then be introduced to AWS, where you will set up your AWS cloud account, learn how to launch AWS instances, and learn a few Linux commands that are required to work with cloud and DevOps tools. Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. You will learn how to install and use Git locally, and then you will push your files and perform operations on the remote Git repository as well. You will also learn how to resolve merge conflicts, branching, and more. Maven is one of the most used build and dependency management tools in the Java world. You will master all the fundamentals of Maven and create and build standalone and Java web applications. You will then create two microservice applications using Spring Boot and test them on your local machine. You will then deploy and test your microservice applications manually to AWS by setting up Java MySQL on EC2 instances on the AWS cloud. Using AWS Elastic Beanstalk service, we can quickly deploy our applications, and it will provide our applications the environment that is required to run. You will use EBS or Elastic Beanstalk with RDS service, which stands for Relational Database Service, to deploy and test our microservices within a few minutes. You will then enter the world of virtualization and containers. Docker is an open source tool to package and launch our applications with everything they need to run. You can then use these containers to test your applications on your laptop or a testing environment in staging, or even push them to production, which could be a cloud or your own organization servers. You will use various Docker commands to pull the images, launch the containers, mount volumes, and even work with Docker networks, and you will see how simple all that is. Creating a Docker file and Dockerizing our projects is a skill every developer and DevOps engineer should have. You will Dockerize your microservice applications. You will be using Visual Studio Code IDE, which will make our task super simple. You will launch your microservices on separate Docker containers and enable communication between these microservices. Docker Compose is a very powerful tool using which we can launch multiple Docker containers in one shot. You will learn the syntax of composing your microservice applications and launch them along with the database containers that are required by simply using Docker Compose up. Kubernetes complements your Docker knowledge. You take your Docker containers, hand it over to Kubernetes, and it will create a cluster of your microservices within a few seconds for you. Kubernetes is drastically changing the application deployment process, making it possible to roll out our new releases with no downtime. Once you learn how to deploy your applications to Kubernetes cluster on your laptop, you can easily deploy it to an on-premise cloud within your organization or to a different cloud like AWS, GCP, and Microsoft Azure, which have Kubernetes support inbuilt. You will learn what Kubernetes is, the various components in the Kubernetes architecture, the object model like deployment, services, pods, and how they all work with each other. You will then set up Minikube, which is a super easy way to explore Kubernetes cluster on your laptop. You will deploy containerized applications to the Kubernetes cluster and see everything in action. You will then come back to AWS services and master services such as identity access management, auto scaling, elastic load balancing, CloudWatch to monitor the health checks and send out notifications when required for your applications. No DevOps course is complete without Jenkins. Jenkins is one of the most popular tools for continuous integration and implementing continuous delivery pipelines in our projects. You will learn how to use Jenkins to configure your project builds, webhooks, pipelines, and automate the complete deployment process. You will also be introduced to Ansible, which is a configuration management tool in the DevOps world. You can learn them all or pick a topic that is required for your projects and interviews and master it. Now go ahead, check the content of the course, watch the free preview lectures, and enroll now. See you on the course.